What is up, everybody? Welcome to Party on Broad. Tonight, we're talking everything Sixers and the NBA draft. Joining me, special guest, he is Sean Bernard of Fox Sports, The Gambler, Pick Swap Podcast. Go check him out wherever. If you're not following him already on X, I don't know what you're doing. You're doing it wrong. What is up, Sean?
Yeah, I know the NBA playoffs are cruising on, but these are our playoffs here. We're diving in. We're getting in the weeds, looking at all these prospects. So I'm getting hyped up that I got my board coming together, got a lot of these guys that I like. And my honest takeaway here is that I think this draft class is a little bit stronger than the reputation of it. So pump the brakes on this all-time bad draft class takes.
I love it. Tonight, we're ranking our top 5 targets for the Sixers for that pick number 16. I think both of us can say, like, we're pro, keep the pick, get young legs on this team, guard, wing, you name it. We're going to be talking about our favorite players 5-1. So I'd say we just jump right into this thing. Here's our board here, Team Sean versus Team Dives. And maybe I'll throw it out there for voting, like who has the better collection of NBA draft targets for the Sixers. Sean, lead us off, man. Who's your number 5?
I like it. And yeah, to start off right at the top with number 5, I have coming out of Duke, Jared McCain here. 6'3" guard, a dude that is a special shooter. That my number one thing is I wish he was a little bigger, that he would definitely be higher up on my list if he was just a bit taller, that I do think he's limited to that kind of that pure guard frame. But he's averaged 14.3 points this year, 5.0 rebounds, 1.9 assists, 1.1 steals, shot 41.4% from beyond the three-point arc on 5.8 attempts per game. He also plays with like a joy that is really infectious and fun to watch. It's a little bit Tyrese Maxey-like in that kind of case. He's very energetic. He leaves. You will feel when he's in the game that he brings that, and I really like that. And he just can straight up take over a game with his shooting. There was a game in the tournament in which he went absolutely nuclear and just carried Duke to a win. He outperformed expectations for me in a major way this year. He's got quite the character. I like him. I would absolutely take him at 16 and got him as my number 5 prospect here.
Love it, man. Every time I watched Duke, that was the guy that popped. I remember talking to you about it. Like, that was the guy that immediately stood out when watching the game, especially late on in the season. Maybe we'll talk about him on my end down the road. I don't know. We'll see. We got Buck 40 in the house. What's going on? Bring back campaign. We'll see. There are some guards, I think, more than Jared McCain in this draft that we like a lot as well. I'll jump into my number 5. And my number 5 is a guy named Jacoby Walter out of Baylor. This guy is really interesting. 6'5", great length, good athleticism. He's a kind of an off-ball perimeter threat that he's shown there at Baylor. He's got all the tools to kind of, maybe develop into a high-level defender. You start with strengths. He's an excellent shot maker with range. He only shot 34% from behind the arc, but when you look at the eye test and you look at the free throw percentage, I think it suggests he's a much better three-point shooter than what his percentages showed in 2024. He's also a great movement shooter. He can fly off screens. He has a super quick release, very solid touch. And on defense, I think that's where he differentiates himself. He can guard 3 positions with his length and athleticism. He has a solid frame to potentially defend bigger wings. And he's good both on and off ball. He's got the potential to be a legit 3-and-D wing if he doesn't reach his ultimate ceiling as a scorer. And when you get to weaknesses, it's that inefficiency, man. Like, this guy is not that great when it comes to creating space off the dribble. His shot selection and decision-making with the ball is questionable, and he struggles to finish through contact at the rim. He doesn't really have that burst, that creativity off the dribble you're looking for off the bench to be that bucket getter. And I think his true ceiling could be somewhat limited. That's going to be a reoccurring theme here as we break down some of these prospects, like high floor, low ceiling kind of guys. But that's kind of where the Sixers are at, I think, looking for some of those win now guys.
Yeah, that's kind of what I would say my biggest takeaway on this draft class is. Like, yes, you're missing those surefire superstars, and what's up, Mitch, there, but there's a ton of just like these high quality role players, these guys that are, the pieces around the edges that teams need. And Jacoby Walter is a guy that fits the archetype of player that we're always talking about with the Sixers. I will say I've become or farther and farther away from the Jacoby Walter hype train here, that I think he's a lot more theoretical at this point. I get he wasn't in the best situation at Baylor, and I know like Ryan Coyle of Beef Up Front gives him a ton of credit and loves him as a prospect. So there are guys that are huge fans of him. But for me, like, he is labeled as a shooter, but shot just 34.1% and 37.6% from the field. He also shot the ball really bad at the combine, which is pretty hit or miss, but he was a guy that I very much could have used to have a strong showing there. So I'm interested to see where his name comes off the board, but I do get the feeling at this point in time that he is kind of a faller at this point in the draft.
I agree. Yep. Let's go to our number 4. And looking at the scoreboard, Jared McCain going number 5 to Sean, and then Jacoby Walter for me at number 5 out of Baylor. Sean, who's your number 4?
My number 4 coming out of Colorado, Tristan Da Silva. And I did watch a good amount of Colorado basketball this year, mostly because Cody Williams was the guy that, from a lot of what I read, the expectation was that he would be in play for the top college player selected. And I did not see that from Cody Williams really anytime I watched. But the guy that did constantly stand out to me was Tristan Da Silva here. He's a guy, 6'9", 220 pounds. He's one of the older prospects in this draft. He's a guy that I do think will be a contributor from day one. Spent all 4 years at Colorado. This season as a whole, he averaged 16 points, 5.1 rebounds, 2.4 assists, 1.1 steals per game, shot 39.5% from beyond the arc on 4.8 attempts per game. And there's a legitimate sample size for there as a shooter during his college career, that he was 39.4% the season before, 37.3% as a sophomore. The efficiency does look to be legitimate, and I buy the sample size because of how long he was there. He's a good defender. He's a smart defender. He's definitely limited in the athleticism department, but he's a guy that's one of the higher IQ players in this entire draft. He's a really good connective passer, far better than the numbers would indicate. And he's a guy that I think is a little bit cut from the Nico Batum mold, where he makes good entry passes. He can complete a team. So he's never going to be a guy that full out pops, but I just think that no matter what team you put him on, he's going to find a way to play winning basketball. So I like Tristan Da Silva and excited to see where he ends up.
Yeah, you nailed it. The IQ is what stands out. But yeah, when you talk about from a win now perspective, like, he's it. He's the guy that I think you could just – he's not the sexy pick in this draft, but at number 16, I think as a Sixers fan where we're looking for elite role players, that's a guy that knows his role. And there's something to be said about that, with a draft that's full of kind of theoretical kind of guys with tools and upside. Tristan Da Silva is a clear fit for the Sixers. I like that selection quite a bit. Let's go to my number 4. I'm going to go across the seas here, and I want to know what your thoughts are on this guy. Is Tijan Salon, a guy that I just really have fallen in love with, and I wasn't really prepared to. He's just a young talent with raw tools and qualities to develop into a versatile two-way star. 6'9", great size, plus athletic traits. He made 68 threes last year. He's going to be turning 19 after the draft. So he is raw, but I think he's one of the premier 3-and-D kind of dudes due to his shot making measurements and movement. When it comes to his strengths, he's an ascending floor spacer. He shot 42% on unguarded catch and shoot attempts last year. There's a guy that does not hesitate to take a three early in the shot clock. He makes a lot of threes in transition, and he likes to take them from deep, So, any kind of guy that can step on the court for the Sixers and not hesitate to shoot from three, I am all in. They need to increase that volume from three-point range. But, he's also kind of got some defensive upside, 7'2" wingspan, showcasing that two-way potential. Strong, athletic. That toughness translates to both ends. He can be a locked-in defender at times, be a nuisance off the ball. He seems to always be contesting shots at the rim, strong inside the passing lanes, knows how to fight through screens. Just a versatile defender that I think should be able to switch across most perimeter positions. And when you get to weaknesses, he's an extremely streaky shooter, man. And he's absolutely a work in progress around the basket. You looked at it, he only converted 47.6% of his layups last year and 4 of 27 on runners and one-handers around the lane, man. So this guy's not a shot creator, and he's not that great around the rim. He's not going to create off the dribble. He doesn't have a great handle. And until this year, he really wasn't that good of a shooter, to be honest. So This is a guy that lacks a reliable floater, struggles to convert touch layups. He shot 70% from the free throw line, just a work in progress. And I just think that upside is enough sell for me on Tijan Salon. Any thoughts?
Yeah, he's an interesting one. That yesterday was the first time I truly dove into his. And first search in YouTube, by the way, what popped up was Edge of Philly Sports breakdown promo. So tuned into that. Did a little bit of research beyond that. That was the biggest thing that stood out to me. What you mentioned at the end there is that he was not a good shooter until this year. That always is concerning to me because I think this could have been an outlier year where he just shot the lights out. But he's only 18 years old. Like, this guy's far from a finished product. To me, I would kind of throw him in like the lottery ticket kind of category right now, that like you can't teach guys that are 6'9", 6'10" move as fluidly as he does. I think he's more cut from like the power forward, small forward mold rather than the power forward center mold. Although again, he could fill into his body and end up that way. But I was very impressed with the way that he moves. He gets out in transition very well. He can be an above the rim athlete, that he can catch lobs, do that type of thing. So there is a lot to like about him. I haven't fully landed on it. I think 16 feels a little too early for me, but I've seen mock drafts with him going as high as 10 or 12. So he seems to be climbing right now. I'm interested to see where he lands, but I'm not fully in just yet.
He would be fun to watch during the summer league with Ricky Castle and Turk running up and down the floor. All right, so just a quick update. We are now at number 4. Oh, let me get rid of this comment real quick. Brandon Ingram is coming to the Sixers. That's the only way these trade rumors make sense. I'm not the biggest Brandon Ingram guy. Any thoughts on that, Sean?
Yeah, I've called him tattooed up Tobias Harris on more than one occasion. I do think that's a little strong. He's definitely better than Tobias, but I don't think Brandon Ingram is the answer to the Sixers' problem. So I like the appeal that he's younger. He's been an all-star, which Tobias has never, but I would like to shoot a little bit higher than Brandon Ingram, to be perfectly honest.
Yeah, way too much mid-range, not enough threes for me.
Yep.
Sean, lead us off. Who's your number 3?
Number 3, and this was the guy that I was completely out on after the college season, but have kind of talked myself into. That's Isaiah Collier. That this is a dude that real deal pedigree, real deal high level athlete, a dude that was expected to be in that top 5 pick discussion at the conclusion this year. 6'4". I've even seen him measured in his 6'5" or 6'6". He's a guy that like has the NBA look, has the NBA feel about him. My concerns, and really what I was kind of worried about beyond just the shooting, which from the percentage standpoint was somewhat passable, 33.8%, not great. More concerning is the free throws at 67.3%. And why that's so concerning to me is he's going to be a guy that gets to the line a ton, that he attacks downhill. He's incredibly athletic. He likes to get vertical at the rim. He sometimes is out of control. I kind of compared him a lot to like a year 1 Jaden Ivey at Purdue, that like the skill set's there. You can see it, but he hasn't quite put it all together yet. Why I've kind of changed my mind on kind of taking a swing at him is, number one, I can't overstate how bad the situation at USC was. That was expected to be like a real deal high level college team, and they just underperformed by every single metric. And also in defense of Collier, that he's a dude that suffered an injury midseason, could have packed it up and just declared for the draft, which we've seen guys do plenty of times. He ultimately returned to the team and helped his stock a ton because his game looked like it changed a little bit, that he was playing more team basketball. He was making better reads during it. So he definitely increased throughout the end of the season. And ultimately, I do give him a little bit of benefit of the doubt that the situation was not great, and he's going to be playing better basketball at the NBA level than I think he did in college.
It would be so on brand for the Sixers to draft a guard that can't shoot.
The shot doesn't look bad. I'll say that.
It's the attempts. It's the attempts that kind of make me concerned. 3 attempts from 3-point range a game at 33%, and then 67% from the line. I don't know, man. But yeah, you're right. The athleticism, the ability to get downhill, the tools, the playmaking, it's intriguing for sure.
He definitely gets out of control a ton. Like even the decision making, I would say, is certainly a work in progress. That it sometimes he just attacks without a plan. It's very Jaden Ivey to me. Like that's definitely the comp that I would give him. But I do think his game is made more for the NBA than it is for college. So giving him a little bit of leanway here.
All right, let's roll on to my number 3. It's a guy you already talked about, so I'll be pretty quick. But it's Jared McCain. This guy that. I mean, he's been on the top of my board for quite some time. You already touched on it. Legit floor spacer, 86th percentile on jump shots, 82nd percentile on shooting off the catch, 74th in spot up shooting. Man, this is a guy who's capable of pulling up off the bounce. 85th percentile shooting off the dribble. man, this guy just fits the bill as an off-ball scorer, shooter for the Sixers. This is a home run selection if he's sitting there at number 16. He's also kind of a developing playmaker, selfless passer. He could kind of somewhat run the pick and roll a little bit. And he's pretty decent at attacking downhill. He had 52 drives on the season last year, 1.096 points per possession on those. And he was really solid at the rim, 62.8%, 1.26 points per possession. And I just think the playmaking, the shooting is all there. Obviously, the size is the concern, and I think that somewhat limits his ceiling in some ways. He's a below, I'll say, low ceiling, kind of high floor kind of dude that it's kind of hard to project what his role is going to be. Maybe he's just a future six-man kind of guy, combo guard kind of guy, which is not the worst thing when it comes to the Sixers, who are looking for that piece to fit next to Max.
Yeah, if he was a couple inches bigger, I would be so all over him. But I do think that this is a case where he might be closer to what you're saying, more of these 6-man spark off the bench type of instant offense guy. I like Jared McCain a ton. He's a guy who, as you mentioned, popped every time I watched him. I also mentioned a very good rebounder for his size, 5 rebounds per game, which is really good for a 6'3" guard. I like him a lot. I would not be mad whatsoever if that is the selection, but I do wish he was just a couple inches bigger there.
Yeah, and the defense, This is a guy that I think has to emphasize defense in his development, and that upside on that end of the floor is probably a little limited. So that's something to watch. So quick recap: Isaiah Collier, Tristan Da Silva, and Jared McCain for Team Sean, and then Jared McCain, Tijon Salon, and Jacoby Walter for Team Dibes. Sean, who's your number 2?
Yeah, I think we're going the same direction here, but cut from my Tristan Da Silva pick, I'm going with Dalton Connect as my number 2 prospect here. I've also been told I look like Dalton Connect, which I don't take as an insult by any means here. But 6'6", 213, 23 years old. He's a guy that had a really unique trajectory here, that he spent the first 2 seasons of his college career at a JUCO college out in Northeastern Junior College, then transferred over to Northern Colorado, where he had a decent first year as a junior. Then his senior year is where he really popped, bumped up to 20.2 points per game, along with 7.2 rebounds, and shot the lights out from 3. That opened the door for a transfer up to the SEC at Tennessee, where he even improved even further. This season, he averaged 21.7 points per game, 4.9 rebounds, 1.8 assists, shot 39.7% on 6.5 three-point attempts per game, 45.8% from the field overall. He's a guy who's just going to be an automatic catch and shooter. That's what Tennessee's offense was, essentially. It was to get Dalton Connect open and let him rip a 3. And it worked pretty well for them. So that's essentially what I see from him at the next level. He's got decent size. He's got a ready trigger. He wants to let it fly as much as possible. And those are the exact type of guys that we want on the Sixers team. So he's 23 years old. He's going to be ready for day one. I think he's an instant impact rotational player. So I would absolutely love to get Dalton Connect on this team.
Yeah, instant offense from the perimeter, man. He's an epic jump shooter. He's also my number 2, as we kind of alluded to. But let me throw that up there. There it is. We both had Dalton Connect, and we're going to be talking about the same guy there, number 1. But Dalton Connect is just a scoring threat and weapon off the dribble. And what you're looking for is a guy that can fill that role, that offensive role that we never really got from Tobias Harris when Joel Embiid went to the bench. And I think Dalton Connect is a guy that can kind of resuscitate this Sixers offense. You look at this guy as a jump shooter, 88th percentile on catch and shoot looks last year. He can, both spot up and create his own shot. And he's pretty solid in the pick and roll, 67th percentile there. And just as an off-ball weapon, man, just absolutely deadly. He's a crafty finisher. He's got solid athleticism. He got to the line 5.7 times per game, shot 58% at the rim and 43% on spot-up attempts from 3, and 41% in catch and shoot looks, 86th percentile, man. This guy just looks like a perfect fit for the Sixers, man.
Yeah. Yeah, and I see Mr. Rudy Poo chiming in the comments saying that he's Kevin Herter cut. What I'll push back to that, like, if you're walking away with Kevin Herter at the 16th pick, I'm not that mad about that. Like, I'm not saying Dalton Connect is the answer from the long-term standpoint, but what my goal is with this 16th pick is a guy that can be a rotation player from the start here, can make an instant impact on this team, and is a little bit of youth to grow with. So I think Connect checks those boxes. I'm absolutely cool with having a guy that is a flamethrower three-pointer as just an option off the bench.
What do you think? Yeah, so I was literally going to talk about this next because when it comes to weaknesses, the analytics on Dalton Connect on defense are pretty solid, but like the eye test, I don't buy it, especially
Yeah.
at the NBA.
Yeah, in my brain, he's certainly a bad defender. That I don't think he's. I won't stick up and say that like they have it wrong. He's not. He's not a great defender. That's going to be an issue. I mean, like as I kind of mentioned with his pathway, like I think there's a world where he figures things out. Like think about guarding JUCO kids, then guarding guys in the Big Sky Conference, then all of a sudden you're in the SEC. That it's a different beast there. So the NBA is going to be a whole nother level of that. He's going to be, forced to guard guys. It's going to be the circle, get a switch and we're attacking that guy, that they're going to force that. So there will be opportunities, but the way I guess I'll kind of push back here is I don't think he's worse than Seth Curry. I don't think he's, one of these guys. So you can hide him a little bit. You got to live with it, take the strengths and weaknesses. I think he's just worth it as a shooter.
Yep. Kane says, I like Tristan Da Silva with number 16. I think we'd all be doing backflips with that.
Yeah.
If they keep the pick and get Tristan Da Silva, a legit floor spacer, I'd be pretty good. Reggie says a couple inches bigger there. What are we doing here? What up, Sean? Number 16 needs to be a big. There's not a lot of bigs that really kind of, I think Sean and I were talking about maybe doing numbers 6 through 10 out on our big board. Maybe there will be a big thrown in there somewhere. A name that looks pretty interesting to me is Khalil Ware. Definitely a project. Deron Holmes, another guy that could be a stretch 4. Do you consider Zach Edey at all at number 16?
I don't particularly want him on the Sixers, but I will say that like my mind has shifted to I do believe this guy's going to be an NBA player. I do think he sticks around the NBA. I think he's like too big to fail, that he's a guy that is like that big, that talented, and he's skilled, man. Like he's way more skilled than people want to give him credit. He's improved his mobility to an extent. He's always going to be the stiffest dude out there by comparison, but you can play drop with him. He does a good job of leveraging his size and his wingspan. I like Zach Edey. And by the way, Nick Nurse has coached Edey and spoke very highly of him out at Team Canada when Nurse was taking over the national team over there back when he was coaching the Raptors. So there is a bit of a relationship there. I'm not saying the door is entirely closed, but I would much prefer to go for like a wing or a shooter with that 16th pick.
I'm in the same boat. Use, free agency to kind of fill in that need for a backup big. The one thing I'm kind of the same way. Like I've been out on Zach Edey, but like if you watch the playoffs and the way this Sixers offense dies, if you can get a guy like Zach Edey that can give you like 10 points in like 10 minutes, and it sounds pretty solid, especially when you consider this is also a guy that's played over 30 minutes a game the last 2 years. So he's not like some other big guys that are only playing like 20 minutes a game and it's all upside. I think Zach Edey could definitely play. I don't know how high his ceiling is, but as a backup big, if that's all you need him to be, fine. Yeah. Rudy Booth says Deron Holmes. That's my guy. Nick Nurse has made it clear he wants athletic and hard-nosed wings. Absolutely. That's kind of what we're talking about tonight. I wouldn't mind Edey's. Joel is always hurt. All right, let's do a quick recap of where we are at. Dalton Connect, Collier, Da Silva, McCain for Sean. I also had Connect, McCain, Salon, and Walter. Sean, let's go to number 1.
Yeah, on the same page here. Devin Carter out of Providence, who I think is kind of cemented himself as by far my favorite player in this draft. 6'3", 195. He's 22 years old. He's the real deal defender, that he pops as a defender in a way that I haven't really seen from anyone else in this class. Offensively, he's just as talented, though. 19.7 points per game. What really jumps out is despite being 6'3", 8.7 rebounds per game. That's yeah, that's Josh Hart type stuff. And I do think he brings like a similar vibe of what Josh Hart brings to the table. He's a better shooter than what we've seen from Josh Hart, though. 37.7% from three on 6.8 3-point attempts per game. That is real deal volume there. 74.9% from the line, 47.3% from the field overall. 1.8 steals and 1.0 block per game. Really impressive stuff there. He's a bulldog that he's going to be up in people's face. He'll pick up 94 feet. He's comfortable as a shooter. He plays with an intensity. He's a guy that like absolutely pops to me. I think from day one that he's going to be like a pure rotational guy that makes an impact in winning ways. I wish he was a little bit bigger as well, but I'll still take him. And frankly, like him measuring in at 6'3" was shocking to me. Like watching him play, I would have guessed he's several inches bigger than that.
He plays bigger than
yeah, he definitely plays way bigger than that. So I'll roll with it. I love Devin Carter. That would be by far my number one choice for the 16th pick.
Yep, same here. He is my number one target this season. You said it. You know, the defense is really intriguing. Providence had a defensive rating of 91.5 compared to 100.6 when he's off the court. This guy's a defensive stopper. The Sixers kind of got rid of their one true point of attack defender when they got rid of Jaden Springer. That's what I was hoping he would be in that role, and I think Devin Carter could be that guy. That has the strength to switch on wings and be disruptive in the passing lanes. The off ball stuff is terrific. All of his numbers are outstanding. 1.1 points per possession when spotting up. That's 81st percentile. 1.0 points per possession off screens, 64th percentile, and 1.34 points per possession shooting off the catch, 93rd percentile, man. Love this guy. He was literally the first guy I scouted as we talked before we went live. And I was like, done, wrap it up. We're done here. Moving on. Let's get ready for the draft. Devin Carter is a really fun prospect. Rudy Poo doesn't like him. The Sixers can have one tall, two guard and wing. Exactly. That's how I envision that role for Devin Carter to be a DeAnthony Melton replacement.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And I've seen a couple comparisons like lining up their metrics that are pretty similar from when Melton was coming out of USC back in the day of him entering the draft. I'm also very intrigued by what happens with DeAnthony Melton. I saw the 4-year, $60 million contract rumor from another team from the Sixers. You absolutely can't pay that. But I also kind of would be surprised if another team gives him that much money as well. So wouldn't shock me if Melton does come back on like a 1-year prove it deal type situation. It sucks that the back injury is such a factor in that.
Yeah, totally. All right. So those are our top 5 guys here in the NBA draft. As you see on the screen there, Sean and I had the same top 2, Isaiah Collier, Jared McCain, Tijon Salon, Jacoby Walter, Tristan Da Silva, some guys that you should absolutely know as we get ready for the NBA draft in a little over a month from now. Sean, final thoughts, plugs?
Yeah.
Man.
I'm hyped up for it to be draft season again. It's nice for the Sixers to have a pick that matters. So like 16, that you can actually get a player there. They better keep it. They better use it. I want some young talent here, but it was good chopping it up. We definitely have a ton more draft breakdowns to get into and everything there. Appreciate you chopping it up with me today. And as far as for me, you can follow me on Twitter at Sean_Bernard1. Check out Pick Swap Media as well as Sixers Digest. We'll have a ton of content that I will be popping out throughout the weekend. All scheduled and ready to go there. So tune in for that. And yeah, get ready for draft season. Buckle up. We're just getting started.
And make sure you check out Fox Sports The Gambler. Sean, I think you're on there like all the freaking time, man. Every time I check Twitter, it's like jumping on to Fox Sports The Gambler. Does an amazing job, man, especially Saturdays. Love the show. I watch it every single Saturday. Mr. Sandman says, if Bronny James passes physical, I would draft him at 16. Would you touch Bronny James?
Only if you get word from LeBron that I'm coming there. It's kind of how I feel. I mean, I'm not anti Bronny James. I do think that he'll ultimately be an NBA player. I don't think it's from year one, but I think like this is a guy that could use to mature in the G League a little bit. If you get that phrase from LeBron James, and this better be Tyrese Maxey trying to tamper and do those things through your Chris Johnson and Clutch Sports connections there. You can get that from LeBron saying he would come to Philadelphia. Yes, I'm not interested in just straight up Bronny at the 16th pick for sure.
No, Absolutely not. Could you imagine like the nightmare scenario where they draft Bronny James and LeBron doesn't come to the Sixers?
Right, right. Then
That'd be a
you're
disaster.
and you just passed up on guys that can actually make an impact
I
for
would have
the
a heart
publicity.
attack, man.
Yeah.
I would have what time is the Saturday show, Sean?
Yeah, 11-1 over there at the Fox Sports The Gambler. I will be away for this Saturday, so I'm out, but Mark Henry Jr. will still be holding things down and has on some awesome guests as always. So yeah, 11-1 over there.
All right, guys. Thank you everyone for watching. Stay tuned. The Attacking Third, I think, is on next, talking everything Philadelphia Union. There might be a Phillies post-game show coming up. I'm not sure. But anyway, last time. He is Sean_Burdon1 on X. Go give him a shout out. I am Dobbs, Mr. Crockpot. We'll see you on the next Party on Broad Monday at 9. We have a special guest talking Eagles. We're going to do like an apples to apples debate show on all the top storylines surrounding the Philadelphia Eagles. It's going to be a lot of fun. He is Sean. I am Dobbs. Stay awesome, everyone.